Welcome to Peak Personalities. This is a series we'll be doing bi-weekly with me and Nathan. The concept will be going by one series at a time, talking about some of our favorite moments, and for now, we're covering Bleach.
We are back with Peak Personalities here. And do you want to guess who his personality may be today?
Bro, I'm not gonna ride the high. I mean, last time I did guess Byakuya correctly.
You did guess it right. You did guess it right.
So it's very unlikely I get another correct guess.
This one will be harder. I will say that.
What's my hint?
I can't give a hint because then it's just gonna give it away.
Then you don't know how to give hints.
Oh, I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. It's not a captain.
Not a captain.
Yep. Endless possibilities.
No, not saying it's not a captain means it most likely is another Shinigami.
Ooh, is it?
That's the way I'm gonna fucking go with it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know why, but my brain just thinking like Nemu.
No, we're gonna get. I'm gonna say add her to the list at some point.
But I don't think it's Nemu. My brain is stuck on Nemu for some reason.
Okay, I'll just tell you it's not Nemu, so I'll give you another one because don't worry, guys. We'll cover Nemu at some point.
I don't know why, but I just want to guess Asagi for no particular reason.
No. We've been teasing him too, and I've been trying to follow the trend of like us passively mentioning the next character, and I've been covering them, but for my turn. But no, the character we're covering today is going to be the Primera Espada, the aspect of death that covers loneliness. Coyote Stark. We're covering an Espada today because we covered Ukiura before, and I was like, man, I don't think I covered an Espada.
He is the second best written Espada, I would say. So I think it's natural to cover him. I will say we did segue a bit because Grimjaw got covered before him. I think Kaido Stark's a strong second for me.
Really?
I like Grimjaw. I don't love Grimjaw, okay?
I used to be actually a really big hater of Stark because he gets screen time, but he is not much of a yapper, and he's not like your stereotypical, Bleach villain that's just like haha boisterous, kind of like Grimjow, or deep and depressing as Ukiura and cool. He just got his guns and his little other half of himself, and that's all he wants. He wants to be lonely. That's why we're picking him though, because I've learned to grow on him as I was looking over characters, and I was like man, who do I pick? And yeah, he came to mind because I was like, you know what? Let's dive into him. That's what we're gonna do today. Starting first off with plot implications. I like how Kubo handled Coyote Stark. The main thing that he handled well is that most anime will cover the same trope of, oh, here's your league of villains, and the top guy's the big bad. He's the guy you gotta take down. He's the one the main character is gonna fight, and it's gonna be a battle. Kubo really takes that a whole other direction. Stark is very like just go with the flow. He obviously his aspect of death is lonely. He kind of just wants to chill. My personal opinion, I think he just wants friends. He's not much of a front-face fighter that's loud and crazy. He doesn't have that leadership and battle king mode like Baragon does, and he kind of just does stuff because Aizen says so. So it's definitely a different dynamic with Stark. His fight with Shunsui was more like when I first watched it. It was more of a fight of philosophies. He's just fighting because he has to, and he really doesn't want to. And so he doesn't have major plot implications, but I think what Stark adds is more than just, being the top Espada. And it's more of showcasing that the Espada are more than just, some league of super strong villains. That's all I got for big plot implications. I don't know if you can take anything away from that.
He doesn't really have like something that changes the whole story. But I would say the thing that he provides that recontextualizes the hollows is each one of the Spada are supposed to represent an aspect of death, and that is the thing keeping them from feeling whole oftentimes and feeling completed. And Stark's aspect of death is isolation, but through splitting his soul into Lilinet and finding this greater purpose by having a social circle and connecting with Aizen, I think he's the only Espada that is actually whole.
And how do you think that fits? Does that impact how powerful he is at all?
I would say it does, because he something that he can fight for. The rest of them don't have something to fight for.
Yeah, no, they're kind of just doing Aizen's bidding reluctantly.
He's genuinely upset when Aizen strikes down Harabel and Bargain gets defeated. He literally like puts his battle with Shunsui on pause and is just like, yeah, I don't have a reason to fight now that my comrades are dead. And it helps ground and humanize the Hollows, and it actually sets up the connection, if you will, for the Ronkar coming into the story later in this series and being an ally, seeing that softer side to a Ronkar.
Show they were more than just
Battle hungry.
Mindless puppets that, Aizen was basically using them for. I think for when we move on here to strong character moment, his most biggest thing, it has to be with his battle with Shunsui for me. And there's like a moment where he goes into his resurrection and he's essentially going all out. And I think what quote did he say? He said something along the lines of like questioned Shunsui for them starting the war, right?
He was mocking Shunsui for using shadows and attacking him while he's distracted or fighting other foes.
Yeah.
He's like, why would you do such a thing? It's such an underhanded tactic in war, and Shunsui says his baller line of, when it comes to war, everyone's evil.
Shunsui was, basically shut him up, if you will. I think Stark really embraced. He doesn't want violence. He doesn't want to fight. But in that moment, he was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go all out." And I don't know if he was doing it respect for Shunsui, or I don't know if you can give a better taste on this of why he decided to go all out. I don't know if he just wanted to end it quickly. What do you think?
My perception was always that, like, oh, my friends over there are fighting and Bankais are being used. They have to use a resurrection, and I want to be like my friends and I want to have that same experience.
So it's going back to his whole loneliness spiel here, where he literally is just trying to fit in.
That's how I always read it as.
Yeah, no, I mean, like when watching the fight, it like when I was watching it, I was like, man, I'm like, this is, Stark is cool because he has guns, he's absolutely busted, can just shoot out zeros like nothing. But when I was trying to watch the fight, I'm like, man, there's like more to it than that, than just simply this dude is just fighting because he has to. And I think that's exactly what I think you're hitting the nail on the head. That he's doing it in the fact that his friends are fighting too. So, going to biggest surprises, I think when I first was watching Stark and we had Lil there, I was like, who is this little twerp, right? Like, I was not a fan of her. I thought she was loud. I thought she was annoying. But when I found out that she is a piece of his soul because he is so lonely, that this dude literally split his like soul into two just so that he can have some company, I was like, wow. That was like a surprise to me. Like, one, I didn't know that you can do that. But two, I think it just shows some more to an Espada, especially the more powerful you are. They could take on those forms, and once they reach above and vast or Lord A level, and they show more to themselves rather than just being some mindless hollows that are just sitting there eating and just trying to get powerful. Because he doesn't really have that drive to do that. He doesn't just do it. That was one of my biggest surprises for me. I don't know if you have anything more creative. Because I think Lilnet's the main one. I mean, I guess he's busted as another one.
I do have a biggest surprise moment, but I do want to go back and talk what I think is a strong character moment.
Yeah.
And it is with that backstory, because he's like just chilling with Lilnet and that stack of hollows. Presumably, he's not been able to talk to anyone but this part of his soul. And when Aizen first encounters Stark, he just looks at him, he's like, you're like me. You didn't crumble like the rest of these hollows did. And I think that's such a bewilderment moment for Stark to have someone he can talk to that's not literally part of himself. And in that aspect, I kind of would think of Aizen for Stark as like akin to a pariah that has like saved him from his darkest days. And I think that's where Stark really starts to become his own person.
Would you say he is more grateful for Aizen?
Grateful as opposed to what?
As opposed to like
Indebted?
like Grimjow, right? Like the last, yeah, because like Grimjow, he pretty clear he didn't like Aizen. And all the other ones, like Baragon's another one where they just were like, nah, like I literally being forced against my will. Looking back on it, it sounds like Stark was more about it, like the fact that Aizen kind of gave him an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't think there was an Espada more pleasantly involved with Aizen's machinations.
Yeah. Is that it for strong character moment?
Yeah, that's what I have for strong character moment. But my biggest surprise, I will say this, I don't think we see a longer distance movement than Coyote Stark. And I cannot tell you how absolutely gobsmacked I was when Aizen was just like, "Hey Stark, could you grab Orihime for me?" He's like, "Okay." And then like
He's
we
like,
see him
okay.
in Las Noches, and then next thing you know, he literally like appears in front of Orihime. Ichigo and Kenpachi can't even like jump in time, and he's just gone. And you're like, "What the fuck was that?"
He definitely showcases being the Primera Espada for a reason.
I don't think we see like such a crazy speed feat like that in a long time, if ever. The closest I could say we see is like late Thousand Year Blood War, where Ichigo pops up after his Soul Palace training, and he like goes across the entire battlefield and then just like appears behind the Bambis. Like that's the distance it seems Coyote Stark traveled.
Yeah, and that's now I'm rewatching it. He does go freaking fast. That's insane. Okay, yeah, no, that's I mean, I don't know where I'd even rank Stark, to be honest. The Espada, like they were introduced so like early in the series that I kind of don't even know how to rank them in terms of like speed feat or even strength. I would imagine Stark's like up there above the Quincy's in some way.
Probably at least a handful of them. I mean, even the pre-run Espada seemed relatively effective at dealing with Bambietta. Not Bambietta, Giselle.
That was a good one. Let me go to peak moment. I think for me, for Stark, for his peak moment, I would have to say when he starts really showcasing his artillery, like when he, gets both his guns. Shunsui like they're battling him, and I think in the middle of the fight, Shunsui like that's actually a pretty good speed feat from Shunsui. He like disappears on sight, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, that's just one Sero." And then you just see him go Sarah Matrella, and then just goes ham with Seros, like raining Seros. And I think Shunsui's like actively running away. And I think that me and you discussed this at one point that Shunsui was even debating on going Bankai in this moment.
He was.
Like I remember when I seen it, I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Shoot," because one of those Seros is stronger than like anything, like a full power that like Grimjow was done, and we see the devastation it did. And that was like my moment where I was like, "Wow, this dude is busted." And he definitely like that's what it's my for him. Like I said, Stark has a lot of like cool moments. His shining moments for me are when that fight versus Shunsui. I don't know what you got.
Well, I do love the Sarah Matrala moment. I mean, I did recently go through all of Bleach with my own friend to get him caught up to Thousand Year Blood War.
Oh, sick.
Literally saw that part, and he was like, "Holy hell, he can do that!" But
Yeah, he can.
for me, the peak moment is the fact that Stark fought 4 different captains, and he was doing pretty good, all things considered.
He fought Rose, Kensei, Shunsui, and
Not Kensei. He fought Rose,
not Kensei. Wait, no,
Love,
Love. That's his name. Yeah, Love.
Ukitake, and Shunsui.
Oh, he did fight Ugatake in the early in the fight. I always forget about Ugatake. Oh man.
He got absolutely bodied by Wonder Weiss in the middle of the fight.
Yeah, yeah, and that's when head captain gets his powers taken or his arm taken, I think.
But for me, the peak moment with Coyote Stark is he was whole with this, army he was a part of, but he starts to see that shatter because Aizen strikes Harbel, Berrigan gets defeated by Hachi and Soifon, and it's like a declaration of his imprint of his soul that he stands alone. And that name of Coyote Stark and the Lone Wolf comes full circle where he starts tearing apart his soul bit by bit, summoning more and more of these wolves to fight the onslaught of the captains he has left to deal with. And the thing that's so strong about this is he's literally ripping himself apart for this fight. And people often say, oh, the Primera Espada's primary ability is just firing a bunch of Seros. No, his primary ability is splitting his soul and manifesting it into attacks or other beings. And that barrage of wolves he uses to defeat Love and Rose is absolutely brutal.
Another L for the Vizards. But no, that is like that's a unique aspect of Stark, of that soul splitting ability. And yeah, no, that's honestly that's more of a new unique track than what I was pointing out. Because Stark, especially when I was rewatching the fight, he really showed like like I said in the beginning of the fight, he was kind of like lax. He's kind of just fighting because he's like, all right, well, you guys want to fight me. And towards the end of the fight, you see a little more, I would say, desperation, if you will, of like you said, when he's losing those other Espada that he was with, and he's just seeing Aizen just cutting them down. I wonder what like how Stark was truly feeling about that. Like, do you think Aizen probably was gonna go take out Stark next if he like say wasn't battling Shinsui?
That's the thing I don't know, because someone did ask Kubo about that first interaction with Aizen and Stark, and think about the way Aizen approaches Stark compared to Berrigan. When he comes to Berrigan, he uses Kyoka Sugetsu to make him think that Berrigan's hollow army is still intact, only to then mock him, say, "You're not even a king. Your army's dead. Good luck, mate. You're mine now." But when he approaches Coyote Stark, he approaches him as an equal and just talks with him and says, "Here's what I can offer you. Are you interested?" And Coyote Stark's like, "Yeah, that would be nice." And Kubo highlights in his answer that Aizen was afraid of fighting Stark
Really?
when he first interacted with him. So I don't know if Aizen would attempt to do such a thing unless he had the Hogyoku.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't want to put his plan at risk.
Yeah, no, that's what was getting me thinking when I was watching it. I was like, I'm like, would Aizen have pulled up on this, or was he banking on the Society winning that fight? Yeah, no, Stark is just, I liked how Kubo handled his abilities, and he wasn't just some super juggernaut that the main cast had to get over with. There was more depth to him, and even the main villain even was able to see that depth. I would say my favorite thing about him is the silent, powerful trope in anime. Like, I like just seeing characters that are like quiet and don't give off that loud impression of that they're super strong or that they are some certain tier of ranking. Where Stark wasn't really like flexing all that hard until like midway through the fight, where he was like, "Oh, fine, I'll show you a couple, I'll show you a few Ceros," and he's like, "All right, now watch this," and then you just see the Cero Manchala. And so that's one of my favorite things about Stark. You just see that explosive wave of power, and from just a chill guy. What's your favorite thing about him?
I think it's just he's a very relatable character
Mm.
because his goals and desires is to just be able to spend time with people and feel like he's part of something.
Like a pack.
Yeah, part of a pack. Meanwhile, the other Espada, while they are entertaining, oftentimes they're interested in obtaining something that most humans wouldn't be interested in.
Mm.
Neotora's desire is to humiliate and bastardize whoever he feels is making fun of him.
Mm.
Most people aren't about that. Nelia and Harbel are on the side of sacrificing themselves for everyone else to the point of like not even being a person anymore.
Mm.
And when you compare stuff like that to Stark, he seems like someone you could go to a coffee shop with and have a decent time with.
Yeah, he doesn't give off any kind of rude vibes or anything like that. And I don't even recall him doing anything he's very like outcasty. And you know what? Ooh, that fits so well. Compared to like all the other Espada, they all have their, clicks and ticks. Baragon has his, leadership abilities. Haribel is type of a warrior type woman, or Espada rather. Graham Zhao's loud, active. He has that Pantera wants to be like king of the jungle type vibe. And all of them have like, some type of goal that's not really relatable in a way. But Stark is like an outcast, like a lone wolf, if you will, where he's just kind of just a chill guy. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because this is a Twitter kind of reference here, where he's just a chill guy and he just wants friends.
Chill guy, chill vibe. What can I say?
Facts. That's all I got on Stark. And obviously, not as super complex as Ukiora, if you will, but I still liked him a lot because he's a cool guy. And that wraps it up for me.